Okay, today we're going to make this mug. So you can find one on the internet that's similar, or you can just do this one. It's your decision. So I'm going to have a split screen going on so we can do both of them. So the first thing it says on here is create the bottom using a new sketch on the XY plane. Draw two circles that form the base, 3 1/4 and 3.75. Okay. So if you want this, so if you think your mug is about that size, just go. This makes the inside and the outside of the mug. So go ahead and pick yours to be that size, and then we're going to extrude them down 1/4 inch, and then share the sketch. So right off the bat, we pick Start 2D Sketch, Start 2D Sketch, and then hover over the plane until you see which one you got, and we want the XY plane. Pick it with your left mouse button, and then we're going to pick on Circle. And we're going to hover over the origin until we see a green dot. When you see the green dot, then you have your origin selected and it snaps to it. Draw your first circle, 3.25. Just type it in and hit enter. Pick your origin again. Move your mouse out so you can see what you're doing. And the next circle was 3.75. Pick enter. Okay. And get that done, you want to finish sketch. Let's make sure everybody got that far. Okay, so now we want to make the bottom of it right down here. Okay, so we're going to extrude these down. Now we're going to pick, you'll have to, since there's two surfaces here to pick from, you'll have to pick the inside and the outside most likely. They'll both be shaded when you're ready to do it. So go over here and pick extrude, or right click and pick extrude, either way is fine. And now it's looking for a profile. Okay, that's why it's blue. So pick the inside of the center circle, and then pick the outside area between the two circles. And that way you got them both. Okay. Now they're going the wrong way. We want them to go down, I think. Extrude both down. Okay. So to switch directions, you hit this little arrow on there. Okay. Everybody see that direction 2? We want to send it down, so we got to switch it to direction 2. Okay, so it goes down. And then we also want to change the thickness from 1 inch over to 0.25. If you want yours to be thinner than that, like if you got a tin can one, if you want to make it be 1/8 of an inch, just make it 0.125. Okay, so if you want to make it thinner, go ahead and make it thinner. But because this will be the bottom, or if you want it to be real heavy down there, that's fine too. So 0.25 or whatever your thickness you want for the bottom. Then just hit OK. All right. Okay, so now we need to extrude this up. Now, whenever you make an extrusion, it consumes those sketches. So we have to share them so they're not consumed up. So over there in your browser, this is the part on the left, hit the little arrow to expand extrusion 1. Now you can see sketch 1 again, okay? So you want to right click on that and pick share sketch. And that'll let you use it multiple times. Which some softwares don't make you do that, but Inventor does. Okay, so now we can use this mate, and it also makes it visible. So if share sketch isn't available, you can actually make it visible and get the same benefit out of it. Alright, so now we need to make a couple planes, I think. We're going to create the cup. So we're going to create 2 new planes. One of them 4 inches up and one 4.75 up. So I just did that so I could get a nice blend from here all the way up to the top. So if you've got a pretty straight mug, you'll just want to make maybe one plane, however tall you want your mug, maybe 4 inches up. If you've got a pretty big churn, you might want to change that plane to a little bit lower, like 1/3 of the way up and then all the way up. Okay, so mine, I went from here all the way to 4 inches and 4.75. Okay. And then after we do that, we're going to draw circles on that. I'm trying to remember what my circles are. Make a new okay. Create a sketch on a second from the top plane. Project geometry from the base. Okay, so those will both be the same. And then these are a little bit on the inside, and that makes it go in more. Okay, so this one's 2.75 at the top. Project the inside and make a new 2.75. Okay, so let's make 2 new planes first. And I'm going to make mine at 4 and 4.75. You might want to make yours a little higher. So we're making them front. This is a plane right here on top of this part right here. So we're going to use that as our starting point and make a new one up. To do that, in the work features group, there's something called planes. If you hit the arrow down, okay, and pick offset from plane, okay. Now just pick the top of that cylinder that we just created, okay. And it says how far up do you want to make the plane, okay. And we said 4 and 4.75, so just pick 4 on the first one and hit check mark, okay. And you can hit enter to repeat the command in Inventor, just like AutoCAD. So hit enter, and they'll bring it back up, and it says select the plane. So I do the same thing again, pick that one, and type 4.75, okay. Okay, now we've got both those planes to draw on. Now it gets a little cumbersome once you get something very complicated, but this one isn't too bad so far. Now we basically need to, on this one, we're just going to project these same two circles up. Now if you want yours to kind of cave in or cave out, don't just project them, draw two new ones, okay? But I'm going to project them. So watch me. So what we want to do is hover over that bottom plane we created, right click on it, and pick new sketch. Okay, now when I hover over it, I'm hovering over the edge, okay? That's how I select it. I hover over the edge of it. Right click on it, new sketch. And you should draw right, and it should bring it on up. Now you're drawing flat onto that plane, okay? Now what I'm going to do, instead of redrawing those circles, you always want to use whatever you can from the previous sketch. I'm going to project those circles up with the project geometry button. If you want them to be a different size, so you want your cup to kind of cave in or cave out, then just draw new ones, whatever size you want. Either way works. So I'm going to project the first two. Just like that. And once you draw your new ones, throw a dimension on them, or project them like I did in Finish Sketch, okay? Same thing on this last plane. Basically, right click over the edge of it, new sketch, and it says draw, project the inside circle, and then make a smaller one, so that helps it cave in. So I'm going to project geometry, project this inside circle, and then draw a new circle. Make sure I hover over to get a green dot so it's fully selected, and then I'm going to type in 2.75, enter. Okay, now notice what we're doing when we're making these sketches. Everything's turning purple, and down the right hand corner of your full screen you'll notice it says fully defined. That's one thing we always want to see, is fully defined. If it's not fully defined, then you really didn't put enough dimensions or information in to fully constrain this thing. Okay, so I'm going to finish that sketch. Okay, so now we're ready to loft the outside of these sketches together with the loft tool. We want to pick the add button each time, then the sketch, and then the part of the sketch that is going to be lofted up. So it gets pretty tricky. So we're trying to do the outside and basically the whole thing. We will do the same loft later, but we'll pick the inside part of it, okay? So I'm going to do it real slowly, so if you want to watch me do it, it's a little tricky. So I go over here and I pick loft, alright? And you click here to add, and you basically pick the first you pick the sketch like that, and you're trying to get the whole thing. I kind of got lucky there. So there it is, grabbing the whole thing. Okay, so I picked that sketch, and it says on the note, selected sketch has multiple loops. Please select the desired loop. So I want the whole thing, so I'm going to pick that. If I would have picked the inside of it, I only got the inside of the loop. Right? Then I click to add, and I grab this one, and I select on the circle itself. Okay, and it says same thing, has multiple loops. So I don't want just the inside. So make sure you don't just pick the inside. We want the outside. Okay, so I'm picking the outside one like that. All right, and then I click to add, and I pick the top one. Okay, and again it says it has multiple possibilities. So, and you could draw all these as separate sketches, but it's a little bit easier, less work to do them at the same time. That's why I did them. So now I'm going to pick on the outside again. Okay, now you can see it starting to form. Okay, it's basically it should bend around this when you do all three at once. If you don't want it to bend around, what you do is you just go straight up to one to the other, and just hit OK, and then share that sketch and do it again, and it would go straight. But I want it to bend, so that's why I picked that. When you get all three of them selected like that, I think I have them all selected. It's still asking me for multiple loops. I think I got them. I'm going to hit OK and see what happens here. Yeah, I got them. All right. Okay, so we have to draw this ellipse for it to follow this path of the handle first. So we just need since this thing's round, you just need a perpendicular plane. Any one of them will work. So what we do is we go over to the origin in the browser and hit the little arrow to expand it, okay? Expand it out. And now we want to find a plane that splits it. And we'll use the opposite one for the path. So you could pick the YZ, for instance, or you could pick the XZ. Let's do the YZ since that's at the top. So just right-click over that and pick New Sketch, okay? So hover over it and then right-click and pick New Sketch. Now you're drawing on it, okay? So on mine, I do it right here at the bottom, and that's about as good a spot. If your handle's a little farther up and you want to put it an inch up, that's fine too. Just draw it about an inch up and throw a dimension on it to the origin, okay? So say it was there. I'll draw mine a little bit up just so you can see how that works. Okay, instead of right at the origin like that one is. So to draw a circle, you basically just pick circle. To draw an ellipse, you expand the circle down and then pick ellipse. Okay, and I'm gonna draw mine an inch up just so you can kind of see how it works. So I'll draw it a 1/4 inch up. If you want yours farther up, do it farther up. If you want yours down here at the origin, draw it up on the green dot. So I try to pick. You can see it wants to snap to the x-axis here, or the z-axis in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and let it do that. And I'm going to try to hold it vertical, okay, vertically up and down and not crooked, okay. It wouldn't really matter except you'd have a weird looking handle. Okay, so I'm going to pick a spot for that. And then I'm going to go the other way. So I tried to go about 3/4. And it doesn't really matter how far you go as long as you're close. And I'm going to go the other way and pick a spot for that, okay. Now you can't see it, but because it's in the middle of your cup. So to get it so where you can see it, you hold down the function F or hit function F7. Okay, and now that splits your cup in half and you can see it again, okay? Now what you want to do to fully constrain this is you need to dimension it. You need to dimension the location of it, and you need to dimension the size of it. Even though we sketched that out, we still need to tell how big it is. On a circle, you can type in a number. On an ellipse, it didn't really let me do that. So I'm going to pick dimension here, grab this ellipse, and pull it out. And it's only doing half of it, so 0.375. I guess that's pretty good for half of 3/4. And then I'll do it again. Grab the circle. Probably have to hit dimension again. Grab the ellipse, and pull it the other direction. I'm pulling straight down. So this would be half of 375, so 0.1875 is half of 375. Okay, if you wanted it a 1/4, make it 0.125, okay? So it's basically almost like a radius of the ellipse there. All right, now that you can see it's still green, it's not purple. It doesn't know where it's at yet, so I need to dimension how far it is away from the origin. So once again, I'm going to pick dimension. I'm going to go onto the center of my object and pick the origin, and then tell it how far away I want it. I'm going to put it 0.25 away, okay? So it's pretty close. And it's still green. Well, the reason it's still green is because even though you put it on this axis, Inventor's not smart enough to realize you did that. So you need to tell it it is basically in line with this axis. So the way to do that is basically you use these constraints, and one of them is horizontal and one is vertical. And just because it looks like it's horizontal, it might be vertical depending on where your axes are. I'm going to try horizontal and see if it works. And it's not. I can see already it's got a yellow line going up and down. So that is not vertical. I need to do the horizontal. Okay, so I'm doing the horizontal. Now you can see it's going the right direction. The yellow is. So I'm going to pick that center of it and my origin, and now it turned purple, so it's good. Alright, so we've got that done. Finish that sketch. So that's the first part of the doing the sweep. So now we've got to do a plane on the other one. So we picked the YZ last time. So this time we want to right click over XZ, okay? And we want to do new sketch. Alright, and let's go ahead and hit F7 right off the bat so we know we can see what we're doing. Okay? Alright, now you can see that, you can kind of see where that sketch is before right in there, right? You can barely see. If you look real close, there's a blue or purple, whatever you want to see. We need to have a path that crosses that, okay? So it has to start right there, and then it has to go to wherever you want it to be. Now mine goes, it looks like, I don't know, roughly 2 1/16, and the mug is 4. So it probably says in the notes how big to make it, and then it's 4 inches tall. But you can kind of freehand yours a little bit and throw some dimensions on it if you're doing a custom one. So it looks like I've got 3.75 horizontal, 4 up, and then 3.75 back on mine. So I'm just going to do that. Okay. Okay. So this if you look real closely, that little blue that's showing up there, that is the side profile of the ellipse. So of course, if you look at ellipse when it's sideways and it's flat, it's just be a line. That's why it looks like a line. But that is the ellipse. Just we're on the opposite plane now. So I want to basically draw a rectangle, 3.75, 4, and 3.75 back, and then I'm going to add probably a 1-inch fillet on it. What did I say on that? Add a fillet, 1-inch center line radius. Okay, so yeah, 1-inch fillet on it. But let's draw lines first. So just pick line, nothing fancy, and then we're going to draw from the middle of whatever object you made, a circle or ellipse or whatever. I got it right there, looks like. Okay, and I'm going to make sure I go straight up. Hold it straight. But you don't want it going crooked. Okay, so I'm going straight like that, and I'm going to type in, like I said, 3.75 on mine. Right, and you can go how far you want. If your cup's 4-inch diameter, you want it sticking out 2 inches, make it 2. You know, if you want it sticking out 1 inch, make it 3. Okay, so mine's about 4 inches diameter, so I'm gonna have to stick up 1.5 inches. Then I'm gonna go basically to the left, make sure I'm going straight to the left. Okay, I don't want it to all be crooked like that. And then I'm going to go 4 on that, in that case, up. Okay, and it doesn't have to be that big. It's your cup, so make it whatever you want it to be. Okay, now whenever you went up, you probably want to go the same amount back down. So I'm going to make sure it's going straight back down, and I'm going to type in 3.75 again. Okay, and it's back down. All right, now you can see it's not locked down at all. All right, so there's a lot of things missing. It says it's missing 2 dimensions. Now a nice way to check and see what's missing, sometimes you can grab like a line, see how it's moving around, and I can hit undo. So it's definitely missing the where it started from. Even though I picked that point, it did not get it. Okay, so I'm going to basically dimension from that point over to here and see what that does, which it should be the same. It should be 0.25 in my case. Okay, that got that done. And then it probably doesn't know how tall it is too. So once again, I'm going to do the vertical constraint, even though it's horizontal, and pick it right there on the edge of it and to the origin. And that fully locked it down. Okay. So it didn't know where my starting point was its problem. Now after I get that done, I'm going to put a fillet on these 2 and get my radius done. All right. So fillet is right. It's all shrunk down here. So I think that's fillet. Yep. There's fillet. And it defaults to 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to just type in 1 and hit enter. And I'm going to pick the 2 lines I want to fill it together. It fell off of it. Let's try again here. There we go. And pick the other 2. There we go. And that's all you need for your path. When you get something like that done, unless you want to make it, you could do all kinds of crazy things with it. You could put a chamfer on it. You could draw a line at an angle. Whatever you want for your handle to be, the path for that ellipse or circle or rectangle, whatever to follow, that's the path you draw. As long as it's on a perpendicular plane, it'll work. All right, when you get that done, hit finish sketch. Okay, so now we're ready to sweep the profile. So we sweep the profile along this path, and even though you can't see some of it. So now the best way to be able to see this is you need to change the view, because you can't even see all the stuff on the inside. So you want to go over to view, okay? And then we want to go to the visual style drop down and drop that down. And we want to just pick plain old wireframe. If you pick with hidden edges, it won't let you pick it for some reason. So pick just plain old wireframe. And now you can see everything on the inside, okay? And now we can basically, when we go into our sweep, we can pick our 2 sketches that sweep work off of. Now go back to the 3D model tab and pick sweep. Okay, now it's looking for a path and then a profile, okay? So first thing, I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Looking for the profile and then the path. So the profile, of course, is that ellipse or circle or whatever you wanted your cross section of your handle to be. So pick that, and it doesn't know I don't know when you'd use more than 1 sketch for a profile, but it doesn't automatically move to path. So pick path, and then you got to pick. As long as this is a straight line and everything's connected, it'll go all the way through, and you can kind of see it happen there. Okay, so I picked that one. Of course, all these things let you cut it and so forth. You can taper it and do some pretty wild stuff. We're not going to do any of that. So just pick OK. Okay. Now at this point, I think we need to probably to hollow this out. There's a couple ways to hollow it out. We could loft the 2 circles down, or we could just shell it out. Either way would probably work. It's a pretty simple design. But if you shell it out, remember it's going to also try to shell out the handle. Okay, and I wanted mine a 1/4 inch thick, so I wanted it nice and thick. And mine would probably, it might fail because this thing's only 3/8 thick, so it can't actually put a 1/4 inch wall all the way around it. So that's why I lofted down, but we'll go ahead and try it. So let's go to see if we can shell it. So let's go over to View again, and Visual Style, and go back and pick Shaded with Edges. Okay. And then let's go back to the 3D model. Okay, now if you want any lip or anything else fancy on top of your mug right now, now would be the time to do it before we shell it. You'd want to pick on there, right click, and New Sketch, and draw your lip and maybe extrude it down 1/8 of an inch or something like that if you have some fancy lip on it. I don't have any of that, so I'm not going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to Shell, which is buried over here somewhere under Modify. There it is, Shell. Okay, and the way Shell works is you pick Shell, and then it's looking for a face you want to be gone. Now you don't have to pick a face, but very rarely do you make something completely hollow. So you usually remove a face or two. So I'm going to pick Shell, okay, and I'm going to change the thickness from 0.1 because I want mine thick. I want it 0.25, okay. Then I'm going to hover over the face here, and it's failing already. And I'm sure it's because of that handle, because they can't figure out how to put a 1/4 inch shell in a handle that's not even big enough for that. Now, since the handle is 3/8, I'll bet I can get away with 0.18. Nope, it's not even letting me do that. Okay, so I can't get shell to work on mine unless I go thinner than what I like. If I go 0.125, it probably works. I probably should save before you shell, because a lot of times it'll break the system. So if you didn't get it to work like I did, this is a good time to save. So let's go ahead and save our work. Mine was ultimately a failure there. Okay. So just make sure you put it on your U drive under CAD 60. I'm going to save this on my laptop real quick here. Okay, so originally what we said was we were going to basically loft the inside of it out. Okay, so now we're going to have to loft the inside of it out, basically remove it. Okay, so I created a sketch up here on top, and then I had 2 circles here, and then I had 2 circles there, and I did that on purpose because I knew they're all 1/4 inch smaller diameter to get rid of them. If you forgot to put one on top, it isn't any big deal. You just right click on top of that face, New Sketch, and draw your circle however small you want it in there. Even though I did, I'll just do it again just for the fun of it here. So I'm going to draw a circle on the top of that. So I right clicked over the top face and picked New Sketch, and then I'm just drawing a circle 2.75, which I did already, but now I got another one in there. Finish sketch. Okay. Alright, so now I've got a circle here, a circle on the inside which I can't see, and one on the bottom. So that second sketch was consumed when we did our first loft. Okay, so I need to be able to see that again. I need to share it. Okay, so I'm going to go over to the left in my browser. I'm going to expand it again, and I'm not going to use the third sketch because I just made one again. But you might need to if you have 2 sketches there. So I'm going to right click on that and share it. Okay, but if share is not available, you can always turn the visibility on. It does the same thing. Share sketch. Okay, now I can't really see it very good. So again, I'm going to go back to View, Visual Style, and go to Wireframe. Okay, now I'm going to loft the inside only and cut it. Okay, so I have 3 sketches. The inside circles are the ones I'm trying to basically loft down and cut out of there. All right. So I'm basically going to once again go to loft here, okay, And it doesn't really matter what order we go into. Right away I've got to switch it to cut. Okay, because we don't want to basically build something new. We want to cut something out. So I pick that. Alright, then I pick click to add. And I hover over the first sketch, or the top one, and pick on it. And there's only one available on mine. If there's two, you'd have to pick on the inside of it, as you'll see here in a second on the next one. So I had click to add, and I just pick on these lines again till they show up. And I hover over the inside only and pick it. Okay, so it's not getting the outside. Then I click to add. Then I hover over all these circles here. And notice don't pick like right here, you'll get the edge. And now it's not giving me multiple options, which I don't want. So I hovered too long. So that I picked on those two circles because I know that's the sketch. Both those circles are not an edge, they're a sketch, so it got me them. Now I pick on the inside, okay? Now it doesn't actually happen until I pick something else, but I don't want to pick anything else, so I might break it. So now I'm going to hit OK. And it should cut all that out. Okay, and I can't really tell. You can kind of see it in here. See these lines. So go over to view again in 3D model and you'll be able to see it real nice. Shaded with edges. Okay. Okay, so some of the last things we want to do on this is put some nice fillets around so we don't cut our lip on it and so forth. So maybe like a 16th fillet on the top and a 16th on the bottom. You still want to give it like I always like it when it looks a little bit sharp, but you don't want to overdo it. It'll pour better too if it's not too big of a fillet in there. So it looks like I put a 16th fillet in several places here, inside, outside. I don't think I put one on the inside. Just right here and right there at the top. So go back over to 3D model, add your fillets. Change it to a 16th, 0.06. Okay, and I'm going to go on the outside of it. I'm going to leave the inside tight, and then at the bottom and top, hit apply just to smooth it out a little bit. And cancel out of that when I get it done. So I've got my two fillets on it. I think the last thing I wanted you to do is put some words on it. Okay. So we'll go through that here in 1 second. Okay, we're going to add some text to the inside of this. Now, it's as you notice, things are getting a little bit, there's planes and everything else and sketches showing up here. If you ever want to hide any of them, all you got to do is hover over them in the browser and turn visibility off. Okay, that's how you hide any of that stuff. Now you got to remember, you can always unhide it too if you need it, for like if you want to make another sketch on that plane. Okay, and these will not show up in your drawing to the customer, so you don't have to really worry about that. Alright, so you want to be able to see the bottom, so hover over the bottom face of it like that. The bottom inside face, I should say. Right click, new sketch. Okay, so we're basically drawing on that bottom face now. So now we're just going to put some text on there and then extrude it up. Now real fancy fonts and things like that don't work the best. Okay, there's font right there just like it would be in AutoCAD. You just pick text. Okay, it wants to know location. You can always move it. So I always just pick a starting point like right there. It's close enough. You can do two corners if you want to drag it, but if you just pick one point and don't drag your mouse, then it'll start right there. And like I said, it's easy to move. Think about how tall you want it to be, depending on how much words you want to put in there, right? So I'm going to make mine. Before you start, you usually want to change size. If you need to change size after the fact, you have to highlight your text to get it to change. Alright, so I don't know, maybe 0.25. That's really not very big, 0.5. Okay, I'll put it on 2 lines. And Dahoma is a real lame font, but the fancier fonts actually won't extrude. So like some of the coolest fonts in here are Papyrus, and I think there might be a Walt Disney one, but half time they won't work because they're just too complex for it to generate. So I know Times Roman numeral work. Sometimes I get Papyrus to work, but not very often. I thought there was a Disney one in here. Maybe there's not. I don't know. I always see that students sometimes find better ones than I know about anyway. So if you know of a cool font, you can try it once. If it doesn't work, change it back to something simple like Times Roman numeral. I'm going to go to Times just because I know it's going to work. And it's best to fix that first. But like I said, you can always highlight your text and then change it, and it'll change. So, caps on, make it italic maybe, fill me up. Alright, I'm going to put on 2 lines so it fits a little bit better maybe, and I'm going to highlight it. So this is just like Word, and I'm going to center it up like that. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. So this is the same thing you'd see in any word processor. And of course, it doesn't really matter if it's rotated a little bit. That would actually be correct if I was looking at it while I was drinking it, so I'm fine with that. You can rotate the text. Okay, so there's rotate if you do want to rotate it. All right, I'm just going to move it. So I'm just going to grab this corner and drag it where I want it. Okay, I picked a pretty good size there. Got pretty lucky. If you're not happy with it, you just double click on it. Highlight it. Change size, change font, wherever you want it to be. Okay. When you get that done, finish text and extrude it. Extrude it up however high you want to put it up. I don't know, not real tall. Remember, it's 3D printed probably, so if you go too high, it won't work out since it's thin letters and so forth. But you want to be able to see it, so I don't know. 0.25 is definitely plenty tall, so I'm going to hit OK. And I think that is the end of the mug. If you want to add any other features to it, feel free. But that is it. To do the drawing, of course, you should all know how to do drawings now, but we'll go through that here in a second. Okay, so let's go ahead and make the drawing for this part now. All right, so make sure you save it first. So if you haven't saved it yet, make sure you save it on your U drive or somewhere safe. All right, so a lot of times you'll have a template like we created in CAD 1 and CAD 2 to put it on. We don't have one created, so we're going to use a default one, okay? So go to File, and I'll use the one I like, even though it's kind of a pain, but I'll show you how to fix it so it works. And if you haven't done the quadcopter yet, this is very similar to that, so maybe I should put this before the quadcopter project. All right, so we're going to go to New, or hover over that, and I think just pick New, okay, because that gives us more options, okay. And then all these borders are really lame. They've got great big old title blocks, and I just don't like them. But if you go over to the is it English? I think it's metric. Yeah, you got to go over to the metric one, okay. So if you go to metric, for some reason there's a lot more of them with metric, and there's one that actually looks pretty professional on there. It's gotta scroll down to drawings first of all. Look at all those drawings we got to pick from. There is BSI, so that is going to be in metric, so we'll have to fix a couple things on it, but that's okay. So I think we can get it to work. So BSI.DWG, pick that one. Okay, that's a more professional looking one, I always think anyway. Create, pick create button. It'll open up here in a second. And let's change the size of it right off the bat. Okay, so we want to change the size of it. So to do that, you hover over the sheet and right click and hit edit sheet. And then where it says size A3, I'm going to make it a B size. There's just B right there, okay? Now I'm going to hit OK. Alright, and that's more of a standard United States size, okay? And then it's probably going to be in metric since we picked a metric sheet, so we need to fix that too. So let's go to the Tools tab, okay? And Document Settings. Okay, and it says the annotations, which are dimensions and text and everything. It says default standard British Standard BSI. What does that stand for? I don't know. It's some British standard system. I want ANSI, American National Standards Institute, British Standard Institute. That's what it was. So I want ANSI, and I don't want millimeter. Okay, so default standard ANSI. Okay, pick that, and then hit OK. So now all our dimensions will look like American style dimensions and like these. Okay. Alright, so now we're ready to bring the mug in. Of course, you don't have to type all this text, but you need to have all these views. Okay, so there's so the way Inventor works is you drop in the main view, and then you just move your mouse and pick a spot for the two projected ones. So this would be the main one, and then the 3D one would be over here. Okay, so I want that one. Okay, so I'm going to go up to Place Views, Base, and since I have the mug open, it should automatically bring it up. It does. It gives me a top view, which I don't want, but I've got a view cube. So look at your view cube and pick a side until you get the right one you want. Okay, so I'm gonna pick that one, which is the bottom, but that's still the one I want, regardless of what it says. Okay, and then it says 1:2 scale. That's probably fine. What size did I make it here? I made it on a C size drawing actually. Probably did 1:1 scale, but 1:2 is fine. Okay, so I'm gonna put it over here, or you can try to get 1:1 to work if you want to see it, make it full size. I don't know if it'll fit. It ain't gonna fit. Okay, so I'm gonna do 1:2. If you want to switch it to C size so it fits and do 1:1, that's fine too. Whatever you want to do. I'm gonna do it like this. So whenever you see that four-headed arrow by your mouse, that means you're moving something. Okay, not just in CAD. So I'm gonna move that to, I don't know, good spot like that, right? And now I'm going to just move my mouse straight up, and then I'm going to pick a spot for my top view. Okay, and I'm going to move my mouse straight to the left and pick a spot for my left view. And then I'm going to go diagonally and pick a spot for my 3D view. Okay, and then when I'm all done, I just right click and hit create or OK. Now they all look pretty good. They're all set up to the default headline shown, which is standard for a part. Okay, but the 3D, we usually change that to more of a pure 3D. So double click on the 3D object. Okay, and just so you know, usually if you want to change these two, change the parent, which is the first one we put in. Okay, so I double clicked on that view, and then I'm gonna go down here and change the shaded, where it says style there, change that to shaded. Hit OK. All right, so I get more of a true 3D view. Okay. Now we need to add all these dimensions. The dimensions are pretty easy. It's a lot easier than AutoCAD. You're basically picking faces to dimension off of, or points in a few cases, but most time faces. So you go over to annotate, and anything that is a cylinder, you really should have a hidden line in it. And you pick two sides to make the hidden line. That's with that. So pick two sides, put a hidden line in it. Anything that's a circle, like theoretically like this, if it wasn't a mug, would be to put a center mark in it. Debatable whether you want it for a mug, right? And if you want a center line, you pick the two sides you want to put it on, like that. Okay. Now I didn't do it on this one because for a mug, I don't know if you really need it. I guess for a design, to send it to the factory, you still would probably need it, so it'd be a good idea. To put the front view and side view and top view, that's just done with text. Okay, right there. Okay. To throw dimensions on it, it's just done with dimension. So for instance, this 3.75, let's grab that. See, it's dimensioning to the fillets because I picked on that face. So I'm going to escape and try again. I'm going to pick on this point on this line. Now I'm going to avoid the points when I can. So you could pick that center point, but it can get you in trouble. So you want to try to get in the habit of avoiding it, because a lot of times you don't want to dimension to the point. Okay, there I've got 3.75. Okay, so you do that to all of them. Now to put text in, of course, these arrows mean that's what you're going to get, right? That's the standard dimension. To put information in it, here at 4-inch elevation. That was more to help you build it, but that's how you add text. Okay, here and at 4-inch elevation. Okay, so anytime you got to add text, you just add it right there, and you can always double click on it to add it later. Okay, and then you can just like that, and you can always drag it around. Try to get it to fit in. You got to hit escape to get out of edit mode a few times, and then drag it where you want to put it. And of course, it ain't going to fit inside there because it's an 1/8 of an inch tall based on the drawing size. So since I use B size, now it doesn't fit in there. If I use C size, it would have. So just for the fun of it, see how easy it is to switch. Edit sheet. C. Okay, now it's C size. Double click on this one. 1:1. Changes all three of those. Double click on that. Oops, got the wrong one. Click on that one. I must have got the wrong one again. So that's how easy it is to change it. You can always move these views around. Now C size, just for your information, is now notice how they follow each other like they're supposed to, is twice as big as A size, so it prints out pretty nice on A size sheets. Even though it's a little, text will be a little smaller, but it'll still look nice. Okay, so to go ahead and dimension it all the way up, don't forget to put your text in there. To calculate the weight, okay, so pay attention for a minute here. One last thing before I forget. You got to put in here how much it weighs, and you got to change the material. So to do that, you have to be in the part. Okay, you can't do it in the drawing. And to change material, it's pretty easy. Just go over here where it says generic, drop that down, and change it to whatever material you want. Change mine to gold today. And then I want to know how much it weighs. To find the weight, you got to go to File, iProperties, physical tab, and then you got to pick update, and it tells me the mass. And so this one weighs in gold, it would weigh 12.84 pounds. Okay, so you got to put that in your notes. All right, so make sure you add that to however much yours weighs in the notes there. That's the end of the video. I think that's everything. If I missed anything, you still got to do it, whatever the instructions say.